Good afternoon, Mr. Landman.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Do you need to speak with Mr. Payne?
My understanding is that Mr. Payne disputes the balance that is claimed as owing, although I do not have a specific list of charges that he claims he paid. I've got the ledger here, and I have my client who's prepared to testify that the balance is correct.
Okay.
So if Mr. Payne has a record of payments, that's wonderful. I am showing.
Sir, wait, I'll let the judge know that you're here, but I just
Okay, great.
needed a breakout room before she came out.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. What's this number?
One.
No.
Okay.
Dave, Linda,
Yes.
has any money been received from the ERAP program for Mr. Payne?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? From what program?
ERAP, ERAP.
I'm double checking my ledger now.
Be about $2,500, maybe a smidge more.
No, I don't see anything in our ledger.
Okay, nothing, no payments since March, correct?
That is, let me see, let me go up. Previous. March. No, sir.
All right, that's what I thought.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so they saying I asked for a dispute. No, when the Mr. Levine, that's how you pronounce your name, you was saying that I owe basically a $4,100 amount. And what I said was I had no record of that to dispute for what you're saying. So I just had to go off of what you said. And the judge gave us this new hearing. That's what I said. That's why she gave us this dispute hearing. I wasn't disputing what you said. I just said I didn't have no paperwork stating that I owe that much, because the court hearing we had previously, it was just saying that I had to pay the $2,500 to get caught up. So, and then when you was like,
Obviously, with each passing month, the amount of rent that you owe increases. And
right,
that's the difference between the amount that they were asking for way back at the first hearing.
Do you want a breakout room? The judge is ready.
Oh, the judge is ready. Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
This is 221581 LT. This is Metro Commons versus Christian Payne. May I have your appearances, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. For the record, Daniel Landman, P35797, on behalf of the plaintiff.
Christian Payne.
Thank you. Today is the day and time set for hearing on plaintiff's non-payment complaint. Mr. Lamon, we were here last week with Mr. Graham Mason, at which time Mr. Payne, Mr. Graham Mason placed on the record that there was rent due and owing of $4,020.15, $164 in court costs for a total of $4,184.68. The reason that we were here last week was plaintiff's request to lift the Sarah stay. The stay was lifted in as much as more than 45 days had passed, and plaintiff's office had not received payment in full. When the parties appeared back on August 2nd, Mr. Payne had an issue in that he had received $2,525 from ERAP, but the car was stolen and he was going to make efforts to have the car replaced. When the parties reappeared last week, I don't believe that the card had been received, and Mr. Payne, when the court inquired whether or not he acknowledged and admitted that that was the amount of rent due, he indicated that he had some question about the validity of the balance that Mr. Graham Mason placed on the record. This court advised Mr. Graham Mason to share the ledger with Mr. Payne, and for Mr. Payne to be able to produce the documents he had regarding the balance, laying that foundation so that we can then, right now, have a conversation about whether or not the parties are ready to proceed. I heard Mary Ann ask about needing a breakout room, and so I'll renew the question. Do you need a breakout room to go over any of the documents, either the ledger from the plaintiff or receipts or proof of payment from Mr. Payne?
Your Honor, I'm happy to speak with Mr. Payne briefly in a breakout room. I think the court has very accurately set forth the history in this matter. My client has not received any type of payment from ERAP. My understanding was it was supposed to be approximately $2,525. That has never been tendered. I don't know what the status is of replacing the card. The only difference between the court summary and today is that because September 1st has come and gone, we now have a greater amount owed because September's rent has been added in.
Correct.
And I have that paper. They put it in my mailbox a couple of days ago.
Does Ms. Everett need to go into the breakout with you, Mr. Lamon, or do you have all the ledger and whatnot that you need to review with Mr. Payne?
Hello?
Mr. Lamon?
Again, I'm happy to speak briefly with Mr. Payne in a breakout room.
My question to you, sir, was, does Ms. Everett need to come into the breakout with you? Or do you have
Yes,
the ledger?
I would like her there. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You'll see the invitation to join the breakout room momentarily from Mary Ann. Were they supposed to come out behind you, Mr. Lamon, or was, okay.
I'm Christian Payne coming. Is my phone's acting slow?
That's okay. Mr. Lamon, are we ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor, yes.
Mr. Payne, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Lamon, any opening statement?
Your Honor, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with Mr. Payne in the breakout room. I believe that in the course of that conversation, there was a mutual understanding of exactly what is owed. So I'll ask Mr. Payne, the rent to retain with September's rent is $47.8957. Costs are $133.84 for a total of $4,923.41. And Mr. Payne, that is the amount that you and I mutually acknowledged when we were in the breakout room. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, Your Honor, with that in mind, I think we do have an understanding as far as the balance. I would request that a judgment enter in that amount with an order of eviction to issue after 10 days. Mr. Payne, I understand, is trying very hard to get the ERAP funds. And then they've told him, based on what he indicated to me, that it could be up to another 90 days before he even gets a decision. And my client simply isn't willing to wait that long for the rent. The balance is too high.
Mr. Payne, do you agree that $4,789.57 in rent is due and owing?
Yes.
And plaintiff has advised that there's $133.84 in costs to date.
Yes.
Mr. Lamon, I guess the only question that this court has is that the summons and complaint indicates a rental rate of $374. When we were here last week, the amount of rent due was $4,000, and now it's almost $4,800. Is the rental rate inaccurate on the complaint, or are there some other monthly fees that come due in this matter?
Your Honor, I think the answer is both. I think the original rental rate may have been $374. The current rental rate is $571 a month. There are also utility charges and a site tax.
No, that's incorrect. I have that paper they just sent to us. And when I originally moved here, it was actually $550. And in the last year, they didn't went up twice. It went from $550 to $571. Now it's $591, plus the $3 tax on the site rent. So it's almost $600 for a lot rent here.
It doesn't go up to the 590.
No, ma'am. No. Mr.
Okay.
Payne, that's in keeping with what Mr. Lamon just said. And the court just inquired, and you acknowledged and admitted that what he said for total was accurate. I just wanted the record to be clear, because in reviewing the file, the rental rates didn't match the number that I saw. But you, by your own statement just now, is that the rental rate is almost $600 a month.
Yes, because I have the paper in my hand of what I owe total, and they just sent me a new one stating that they was going up on our lot rent again. And I know the young lady in the office, she wasn't here last year when I originally got this home. So I got all my paperwork stating that it was $550 and then went up to $571. Now they're going up to $591. Now, I don't know when it's supposed to go.
Mr. Payne, I wasn't trying to start a whole nother conversation. The amounts just need to be accurate. And Mr. Lamon, the difference he just cited was $571. You're acknowledging that the lot rent had been $571.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay.
Go
Go ahead, Mr. Payne.
My question is, if they sent me a paper in the mail stating that I owe $4,923.41, okay, I'm not trying to be mean, but is that what I owe, or is it something else that I owe that I'm not getting put in my mailbox, or I'm not getting put on my door? That's what I'm asking.
Mr. Payne, your question is not quite clear. You say you have a document in your hand that says you owe $49.23.41. And that's the
Yeah.
amount that Mr. Lamon just read into the record, sir. So what, I don't understand what the question is.
Okay, then I have no question there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay, Mr. Payne, inasmuch as you acknowledge and admit that the rent due and owing is $4,789.57, and plaintiff is entitled to the court costs incurred in pursuing this matter, there is no tribal issue, which means there will be no hearing this afternoon. Mr. Lamon's office will submit a judgment that has those dollar amounts on it. The court will sign it and a copy will be mailed to you. If you're continuing, when you get a copy of the judgment, I would encourage you to continue to follow up with whomever you've been in communication with about the missing ERAP money. That $2,500 will go a long way towards paying down this balance. But based on the fact that that amount does not cover the $4,900, you might want to have some conversation with your with Metro Commons about how you're going to pay the balance or resume making payments on the remaining balance.
Okay, but I already know those conversations won't go far
Why?
because they don't accept partial payments. They don't accept like payment schedules. So say like you want to pay $100 here or $100 there. They don't offer none of that to none of their residents here, even the ones that doesn't rent to them. Like I don't, like I was telling the lawyer for them, I don't rent to them. Yes, I rent the site, but my home is not rented to them. I have a mortgage on my home. So I don't rent. I have to stay here because of the contract that I signed when I got my house. I have to stay here for 4 years. But if I could have moved, I would have moved last year when I got my home. But I have to stay here for 4 years because that's their contract. And also in their contract, they doesn't accept partial payments because I tried that once before because I was short and I was waiting on a check. They was like, we don't accept partial payments. We don't do that. They want the whole balance in full. That's how Metro Commons operates. They try to give you a leeway, but as come to payment wise, they don't accept partial payments, none.
Well, Mr. Payne, the court cannot change the terms of the contract that you have with Metro Commons. I just always encourage people to have the conversation because if you owe $4,900 and you'll tender $2,500 from the ERAP, then the other $2,400, if you have it on a reasonable payment schedule, that's a conversation between you and Metro Commons.
Which is, I understand. It's just no problem. I just want to.
Okay.
That's fine.
Your Honor, I
Mr.
do have
Lamon,
one
submit that
question of the
judgment.
court.
I'm sorry.
Should I
Mhm.
enter this judgment as a consent judgment or a judgment after hearing? If we enter it as a consent judgment, then Mr. Payne should be advised of his 3-day right to rescind.
Mr. Payne, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Just to renew the question to you, Mr. Payne, you admit and acknowledge that rent due and owing in this matter is $4,789.57.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Lamon, after hearing, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll submit the judgment.
Thank you. Mr. Payne, good luck to you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.